Where do I move in this world? Could you please tell me what the hell I'm doing for it? Bring me to my knees. I'm so stupid. Would you tell me honestly if I wasn't meant to be what I see when I dream? Where do I move in this world? Could you please tell me what the hell I'm doing for it? Bring me to my knees. I'm so stupid. Would you tell me honestly if I wasn't meant to be what I see when I dream? It's a big, big world out there. Plenty possibilities. All of them is killing me soft. I want the real me figured out right here, right now. Is this lifestyle the right style for me? Only with time will I see. But by then...
I'm Daniel P. Calderon.
And I'm Jack Salamone.
And we are the founders of Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow.
We're a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing quality business education to at-promise teens in our communities.
Welcome to our EOC Gala, a yearly benefit that supports entrepreneurship programs for Black and Brown youth in the United States and with your help across the world. In the United States, the average net worth of Black families is $17,000, and that of white families, a little bit over $170,000. That is a wide gap.
This wealth gap can be directly tied to achievement gaps in American public schools. In 2019, Black students achieved at a 26% lower rate in reading than white students and 30% lower in math. Now, I'm not going to be the first person to tell you this, and I'm not going to be the last. But despite the enormous amount of attention being placed on these gaps, they continue to widen due to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to research, while white students lost the equivalent of about 6 months of learning during the pandemic, their Black and Hispanic peers lost the equivalent of between 9 and 12 months of learning. This is due to a lack of access to resources and opportunities that are readily available in white communities for those kids to recover from the academic losses of this past year. And widening racial gaps over the last 10 years can be tied to a loss of between $300 and $550 billion in the US economy. That's between 2 and 4% of our country's national GDP.
Our goal is to halt these widening gaps and begin the process of narrowing them, stimulating local economies, and creating equal opportunities for at-promise youth to excel.
By supporting Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, you're helping us provide no-cost education programming, mentorship, and networking experiences for our students.
Our mission is fueled by community, and we are so grateful that you are a part of ours. You can donate to our cause by visiting entrepreneursoftomorrow.org/donate, or you can scan on your camera phone the QR code on the screen. Thank you, and we hope that you enjoy the show.
As an educator with over a decade of experience, I've seen education has helped and failed Black and Brown students. The glaring correlation between achievement gaps and the income and wealth gaps pushes us to act fast. Entrepreneurship gives us the opportunity to be creative and solve problems that plague our families and communities. There's a better day to come. Creative entrepreneurs like Britton Smith show us that unapologetic activism changes things for the better. Join me in welcoming the beautiful artistry of Tony Award winner and master troublemaker, Britton Smith.
Hello. My name is Britton. I'm from Britton and the Sting, and this song is called Mirror. It's about affirming all of you to be able to walk into any space as your most authentic, lovely, dynamic self. Yeah. You lay right there, rolling your eyes. You try your best, but you feel more comfortable in your disguise. But I see your face. Still you wear a mask. Oh, this lie can't withstand, no, the promised love that we all have. So I'm telling myself, oh, you ain't gotta lie to kick it. Hey. Baby, you can be yourself. Yeah. Hey. You ain't gotta lie to kick it. All you gotta do is throw
the mirror on yourself.
You know your way, so go on and let it guide you. I will be your friend. I am beside you, oh, reminding you that it's alright. Hey, you ain't gotta lie to kick it. No, baby, you can be yourself.
Baby, you can be yourself.
Baby, you can be yourself. Everywhere, no.
You ain't gotta lie to kick it.
Just throw the mirror on yourself. Yeah. If you get lost, open up those wounds and scars. Don't be afraid of who you are. Open up and let it out. Don't be afraid to scream and shout. Oh, you ain't gotta lie to kick it. No. You can be yourself.
Baby, you can be yourself.
Your body, your skin, nobody.
You ain't gotta lie to kick it.
Just throw the mirror on yourself.
The mirror on yourself.
Yeah. Hey, you ain't gotta lie, no, baby.
You ain't gotta lie to kick it.
No, you ain't gotta lie, no, baby.
Baby, you can be yourself.
You can be yourself, you can be yourself. You ain't gotta lie.
You ain't gotta lie to kick it.
Just throw the mirror on yourself.
The mirror
See
on
yourself. If you get lost, open up those wounds and scars. Don't be afraid of who you are. Open up and let it out. Don't be afraid to scream and shout. You know, sometimes I have to remind myself to sit in my own bag, you know, trust your own sauce, to dance like nobody's watching, to feel good, to feel fine, affirm yourself, gas yourself, love yourself like you love your neighbor, 'cause I ain't gotta lie, no.
Hi, I'm Fred Sansaforth, visual and graphic artist. For me, mentoring drives the change that I personally want to design in the world. What we're doing at Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow is nothing short of God's work. Art has a magical way of pushing the boundaries of understanding. What words can't explain, art can color. I'm excited to present a snippet of the Mentor session with actor, writer, and producer Denzel Whitaker and producer John Trefi. Denzel's performances in films such as The Black Panther, The Great Debaters, and Training Day have given us an artistic language and proved that the greatness that comes from Black people is undeniable. John Trefi, a committed ally, is known for his commercial success, producing content for clients such as Google, Netflix, and most recently the short film 5150. He ensures that the work gets done. Enjoy this session produced by our EOT Youthpreneurs.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jade Ithier. I'm 16 years old. I run a small business for self-care products called Self-Care by Jade. And my business is used to inspire others to feel confident in their own bodies and to make them feel like even if they did have some doubts about their imperfections, that's not what you are, and I use my brand to just help others feel more confident themselves. So the type of self-care products I have are, I do hair care, body care, skin care, and just to name a few, I sell body butters, body scrubs, hair oils, I sell lip glosses, lip balms, things like that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Saskia Ivory. I'm 17 years old and from New York City. I have two businesses technically. One is a jewelry business where I make and sell a lot of different jewelry items like necklaces, bracelets, anklets, things of that nature. And my second business is a completely online business. It's called Marketing with Kia. And my first business is called the Kia Collection. I'm not sure if I said that, but this one is Marketing with Kia, where I make flyers, business cards, things that more so are for other fellow business owners. So yeah, that's about what I do.
All right. So you say you have two businesses, one that is, of your own, brainchild that you make your jewelry and whatnot, and then one that's sort of marketing for other people. How do you find that those businesses complement each other and maybe cross-pollinate for, the greater good?
Well, I find that on my business page, the Kia Collection, the jewelry one, I find that a lot of business owners follow me. I think it's because I have a YouTube channel as well. And a lot of the videos I make are catered towards fellow business owners, like how to make a website or things of that nature, how to start a business. So I feel like that attracts a lot of business owners, which attracts them to my jewelry business. And then since I have the marketing business, that also attracts them over there to ask for help with things that they may need help with, like business cards, thank you cards, things of that nature.
I want to introduce Denzel Whitaker and John Treefry, and I will not do their introductions justice. So I'll allow them space to kind of let us know who they are, what have they done in the past, what they're most proud of, and why did they decided to be here today.
Thank you, Daniel. My name is John Treefry. I'm a filmmaker based in Los Angeles. I run a company called 4WT Media, and I'm honored to be here today, really by way of my creative partnership with Denzel Whitaker and our project together, 5150. It's we'll talk more about it, but the thing that I'm really proud of is that I have done a lot. I think, like Saskia, you were mentioning, you have your own business, but you also work with other businesses. Much like you, I have my own business where I do commercials and branded content for clients like Netflix and Google. But really, I'm also passionate about telling original stories like 5150. And I think that story and media has an incredible place in changing people's hearts and minds. And I think that there's a lot of power in the inclusivity that can be found through, the shared experience of watching something, and it doesn't have to be in a movie theater, anymore. So that's something that really drives me and the work that I try to do. But I'm excited to, just connect with all of you here. I've been, really fortunate to have guidance and mentorship in my career. And I think that's a really important thing that I'd love to, talk more about here today.
I definitely want to second what my brother John over here just said. Mentorship has been highly valuable. Before we even get into the introduction, I just want to say, mentorship literally is the reason, why I do what I do. And of course, why John and I have seen fruitful results with our 5150, which we'll get into. Very happy to be here, everybody. My name is Denzel Whitaker. I'm an actor, director, and filmmaker. I've been in the industry for about 20 plus years now. Got started as a kid. So I really, like yourself, have been in business with a briefcase and everything since a young age. You may have seen me in such things like Training Day, Great Debaters, most notably Black Panther. I was recently in, but I also work behind the camera as well as edited for 5 years at Cartoon Network, did fashion photography. I kind of have my hands in everything. Like yourself, I just wanted to be advantageous with, the opportunities that were presenting themselves, really take everything that this life has to give me and take full opportunity and just share art. I'm very passionate about art. And like yourselves with your individual businesses, I find that you want to grab hold on something you're really passionate about, because at the end of the day, when you lay your head on the pillow, did you do a good job And did you put forth everything you wanted to into the world? So excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
So how today is going to work is that, some of our interns are going to be asking questions. We can start with Jade. Jade, are you prepared? You ready for this?
Okay, so my question is, how has the community you've built throughout your careers been important to the execution of this project?
John, you want me to take it away? So that's a fantastic question. There's strength in community. And so during the pandemic, John and I have been working on this project since 2018. I probably had it in my brain and wrote the first draft maybe back in 2016. So it's been a labor of love, as you could tell. We've been curating this for quite a few years. And during the pandemic, John and I seen an opportunity where we were like, hey, let's crowdfund this project. We put together a list of all of the different contacts that we ever came, had the pleasure of meeting, what our network or circle is. And we were just like, we're going to do it. And obviously during the pandemic, people weren't necessarily making money. People were strapped. Everybody was indoors. So it was like, we didn't know when this was going to end or what was going to be on the other side. So it was very bold of us to try to raise not only 25,000 initially, but 33,000 is what we end up raising, and even some additional capital on the other side. And I would give a lot of credit to that, to the community that we built. You do good work, but you also retain contacts, you keep in touch, you want to create great relationships. But then also you will be impressed by how many people see your journey. And I know yourself, Jade, you have your businesses, like all the people around you, they're going to be your immediate pillars who support you and uplift you. But then sometimes it'll be, the stranger who you don't know, where you could really inspire them and touch their heart. And then all of a sudden, they love everything you're doing. And that's what John and I did, is we really put our hearts on the line. We, wanted to share the passion and joy that we had for filmmaking. And, there were plenty of strangers as well as friends who came and drove because they seen our passion. And we wouldn't have reached our goal at all. We almost funded more than 50% our first day, thanks to the community that we built.
And I had a question to you guys about why you make the type of film that you do. So my question was, why is it important for you guys to tell Black stories, and how do you work together to make sure that you're telling those stories authentically?
All right, how real do you want to get? It's important to tell Black stories because, first of all, it's something that we sort of deal with and we tackle actually within our pilot 5150 and within the short film. Just to sort of give you a little history and recap on the character, it's about a world famous Black celebrity whose, erratic behavior and political views get him locked up in a psychiatric ward for 72 hours. Now, to sort of understand what he's so, emphatic about, he's really trying to buck the system because he feels like he's being held back, both artistically, creatively, within his own mind. And, some of that is true. Some of that we play with the different levels of like, is he crazy? Is he kind of losing, his mental stability? And then parts of it, is rooted in foundation as a Black man in America, where, to Daniel's beautiful piece that he shared with us, we're kind of in the gap. So I could say from personal experience for myself as a young artist, and of course being within the industry, I found that, consistently there are always like two roles that I'm always going out for. It's either the thug or the slave. And there's this consistent image that's, being positioned into the media. And even the way we're framed, even the way, the buyer's market in certain communities are broken down. There's so much, systemic racism that overlaps and carries on that, you yourself have nothing to deal with. This has been years within the making. So that's something that our lead character is passionate about. And I think behind the camera, equally something I'm passionate about, because just as a young Black man or somebody of color, we experience this in real time. So for me as a filmmaker, I feel there is a duty that every time I step forth and have an opportunity with my pen or my voice to say something, I'm going to create change. I'm always going to be mindful of what I'm putting forward as a creative. You know, how are we being represented? Is this demonstrative to the character? Is this shining him in a good light? Are we actually moving the goalposts forward or backwards? For me personally, I don't want to keep telling those same two narratives of slavery and poverty and being a criminal. For me, I want to elevate that, and I want to share my personal story because I didn't come from that. So I want to keep showing the different layers of Black, not just the two layers on this side of the spectrum and this side of the spectrum, but everything in between, the nuance. So it's super important to me, and I'm going to continue to fight for it for the rest of my life, because we need more examples of not just Black stories, but stories of color all across the board. We're just misrepresented, I would say.
Yeah, and I'll just echo Denzel to say that I obviously have a different lived experience. You know, I'm coming from a different perspective as a storyteller, as a creative, but I think, Saskia, to your question, what's important to me and why I'm drawn to, collaborate with Denzel and to tell, Black stories is because I think there's a richness and there's a lot of depth that we haven't seen. And, very much so the point Denzel shared about those same narratives being recycled in the media and in entertainment is something that I want to work to work against. I want to work to find new stories, and we Denzel and myself as creatives and storytellers, we look up to people like Ryan Coogler and Jordan Peele, who have with films like Get Out or Black Panther have really redefined what a Black story is, and showing that we can see sides of Black characters and stories that we've never seen before. And so that's, for me, what's really rich and rewarding about this work. And I think that my skin color, my lived experience is something that I can bring to the table as a creative partner to Denzel. And that's how we work together, is that we respect each other's differences and we really look to where we have shared passion that crosses over and crosses our differences to create something that is universal. And that's what we believe as storytellers, is that we can tell something that might be very specific, like Denzel was mentioning, of this world famous Black celebrity. But for me as a white man, that resonates, and that's, I think, the beauty and the power of filmmaking and art.
But yeah, we want to hear your feedback. Definitely keep in touch. We're definitely inspired by your stories as well. Thank you for sharing your businesses with us. It's so awesome just to see it at such a very young age, you guys doing so well, very, eloquent with your words and also your businesses. Couldn't be more proud, and just thank you for having us. And again, keep fighting the good fight. Fight for everything you believe in.
So that frames up everything that we're working on here. There's so many gaps that were created for us that prevent us from the success that we want to see, who we want to be, getting support for our dreams or things that could be our reality. Jade and Saskia, you are a perfect example of that, right? Going outside of the gap. And I want you to know that we support you. There's an army of folks that are looking to make you successful. So let's just affirm them. Everyone on the call, let's just affirm them and just make sure that they understand that we're here to just make sure that your success is a story to then help someone else that's coming behind you.
I'm James Cole Jr., Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the JASCO Group. I'm also Chairman of the Board of Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. When I decided to volunteer and mentor EOT interns last year, I could not imagine the progress they would make, not only in their classwork, but also in their businesses. For example, 17-year-old Danielle Hawthorne, who diligently applied her skills and learnings to grow her business, Scotch Bonnet by Danny, to achieve over 6 figures. Not only did she grow her own business, but this year on Juneteenth, I was able to attend her Juneteenth pop-up shop, where she created a space for other teens just like herself to sell their own products and services and follow in her footsteps. This is the work we do at Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, helping already brilliant youthpreneurs go the extra mile and create economic growth not only for their families, but for their communities. Most wealthy families have the ability to send their children to the best schools, which allows them to build powerful networks of support. The overwhelming majority of Black and brown families do not have that privilege. This is why we need your support to hire an incredible team, including a PhD, to develop a curriculum for our upcoming Arts Academy, where we will work with 3rd and 4th graders so they can use their creative expression to grow. To expand our summer internship program by 100% to help more high school students, and to fund our Youthpreneur development grant to fund more youth-led businesses like Danielle's. As a former Deputy Secretary of Education, I saw firsthand how a lack of support puts Black and brown students at a further disadvantage, which further worsens the achievement gap and exacerbates the wealth gap. We have self-funded this operation thus far, and we ask for your help to raise $50,000 by August 31st and then $100,000 by December 31st. I have a strong feeling we will meet and exceed these deadlines. Visit entrepreneursoftomorrow.org/donate or scan this QR code to give $10 a month. Or if you're truly inspired by the ability to help Black and brown kids, please consider giving $1,000 or more to sponsor this very important program. We need you, and you're the only ones who can help us begin to close the achievement gap and the wealth gap. Give today to ensure a better economic future for our kids, your kids.
My name is Danielle Hawthorne, and I'm from Mount Vernon, New York. I'm the 17-year-old proud founder of Scotch Bonnets by Danny and Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow Youthpreneur. Throughout my natural hair journey, I've become very obsessed with wearing bonnets, but I could never find the colors that I liked in the beauty supply store. So after a couple YouTube videos, I decided to learn how to make my own bonnets, and from that moment on, Scotch Bonnets by Danny took off. My entrepreneurial inspirations include my mom and the Atira Lions. I've seen my mom over the years growing up with her side hustles, and Atira Lions went from having her business in her garage to having a storefront in LA. Being a youthpreneur at Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, my biggest takeaway was that you should turn your failures into success. Never give up the first time, because you can always learn from that mistake and make it into something better. Throughout this pandemic and this past year, I've learned to become way more patient when it comes to my business endeavors and just my personal life. I've also learned to become way more open to change, in that life is gonna bring you on different curves. Everything is not gonna be perfect. The hardest moments I face as a youthpreneur is just time management and learning how to prioritize. Being young, you wanna go out with your friends, you wanna be free, you wanna do whatever you wanna do, but you have so much responsibility. So it's all about finding that balance and getting the best of both worlds. It's so important for Black women to own businesses to simply see that representation in the business field. In addition to that, there are so many times where Black women have been shut out from opportunities, so I find it very important for us to create our own. For college, I'm most excited about just networking and learning. I plan to major in business management with a concentration in marketing, so I'll be able to learn so much about how to apply these things to my business and just my future endeavors. We need your help to support young people like me to make a considerable difference in our families and local community. Give now. You are the change that we need to see.
According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, over 60% of Black students are below the basic proficiency levels in math and science.
Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow's vision is to teach youth in every community in the planet to solve problems through entrepreneurship.
Together we can change the face of entrepreneurship one student at a time.
I'm a smart, creative girl who loves agriculture. One day, I dream of owning a smart farm powered by wind technology.
I dream of owning a business where I can use artificial intelligence to help take care of my favorite athletes. Told you that I'm smart. Shout out to EOT.
For the ones who question their own abilities, not realizing the space between their genius and their true intuition. This piece, written by Daniel P. Calderon, was written to acknowledge the unfortunate truths and lies about the gaps created for us and sometimes perpetuated by us. The fine line between protection and pacification. As a member of the Advisory Board of Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, my goal is to open the door for young women like myself to realize their brilliance, to pave a way through the gap towards the freedom that so many of us long for, that we will achieve. Performed by Alvin Ailey's finest, the brilliant and the beautiful, Renaldo Maurice, we present to you Gaps.
We've grown so used to gaps. We've created beauty within the space between the unreachable, grounding us in. This is where I belong. This is for us, by us, but nowhere else but here. Why you going there? Out there ain't for us. There's no safety outside the gap. You see, this gap is where we hide, where we run and duck from the bullets of uncertainty, where I'm certain you will fail. Shh, baby, girl, boy, what you mean they, them, theirs? You don't understand, that ain't for us. That's some white people shh. They have it hard too, but not as hard as us. Why won't you stay here with me? That job they gave you is for us. You see, you're smart. I knew you could do it. Let me call Auntie and tell them the great news. Smart people climb the ladder into, not out of. You know I miss you. Staying is love, not that other shh. But Mom, don't but Mom me. Have some respect. Have I ever steered you wrong? Your story, your dream is amazing, fantastical. I love you for it. But it is just a dream. Look at your pops, your uncle, grandma too. Their dream was just that, a dream. Wake up. Shh. I told you shouldn't have done that. No one will ever marry you. No one loves her. Ma, you're right. I'll stay here in the space. This space between unreachable is where I feel safe. This space between is where I'll be protected. This space is where I'll be loved. This is where I'll stay. We've grown so used to gaps.
You can't just learn from anybody. If you don't have the right intentions, if you don't have the right heart, when you're teaching someone, then what are you really teaching them?
I feel like the education system lacks most in creativity. About racial studies, LGBTQ.
Who do I want to learn from and why? Most importantly, is my mother.
And I think it's better when you learn from somebody who has a better understanding of who you are, the essence of your being.
When I see black educators in front of me, when I see black role models in front of me, it validates my experiences. It lets me know that I'm not alone. And on top of that, it means that I can achieve what they're achieving.
I want to learn from a black female physician.
You're going to teach people how to take up more space.
Who you learn from matters. Success is not always within close proximity to celebrity. A symbol is going to highlight various fields, walks of life, and different ways to teach people right.
All right, so that's the piece. So it's not a happy piece, right? It's a real conversation that has a lot of lies, has a lot of weird realities of our people that live in this gap that were created for us to live in. It kind of speaks to how hard it is to get out of the mindset of that gap, and how we sometimes perpetuate that same narrative that are not true. So what are your thoughts in general, if you were able to hear?
Yeah, for me, it was there was a quote that resonates. I said that's not for us, that's for white people, I believe. And just having been someone who had to navigate and still am so many white spaces, it just, I'm even in a situation right now where I'm speaking truth to power, and it's really difficult. And like, how do I replicate the intangible, sometimes skill sets that people need in order to feel confident enough to speak truth to power and to challenge, the systemic inequalities that have oppressed us for centuries.
I think for me, this space of when we talk about abundance is historically in this capitalist mindset. And as Black folks, historically Black folks with the most access to abundance from a capitalist mindset rarely have been positioned to think about abundance from like lived experience mindset. And so when that line of that's not for us, that's for them, I think there's a twinge of, as someone who navigated they, them pronouns before, like living in this space I'm in now, it's this kind of idea of you're kind of trying to have too much. You better choose one thing. You better boil it down. It's when people are saying that you're confusing them, it's that you're engaging in too much abundance and access, and it's making them uncomfortable. And so I think what really is sitting with me is that we have to push the conversation of abundance for Black people past the dollar, past the house, past the car, into these things that not only should we have, but that I really believe we're owed.
I love that. And that goes into my first question for you both, and you both can answer it. How do you stay motivated and dedicated to community development? It's not an easy thing to do. So how do you personally stay committed?
I'll jump in. I think the quote that resonates with me is by Nelson Mandela, and it always seems impossible until it's done. And I just feel like I owe it to my community, because I wouldn't even be where I am in life without the it takes a village to raise a child mentality, right? Like being able to go to a cousin's house, a friend's house, a friends of a family house, and to have random mentors growing up that allowed me to create or see my higher self, or bring out things around a positive self-image and affirming my identity. You know, the YMCA, Big Brothers and Sisters, my church community, you know, raising money for me just so I could actually like get on the bus to go to college, right? Because I was born, you know, without much, you know, to my grandmother and my 8 brothers and sisters. And if it wasn't for my community that was able to cultivate this sense of like, he is our responsibility as well, then I wouldn't be where I am. And so I think this idea of community development allows communities to like increase their control over their life. And that's what I feel God has placed me on earth to do, which is just to give back and be more than just involved and more than just a participant within my community. But am I someone who is empowering others to have even more access to the things that, as Dominique stated earlier, we are owed?
I think particularly as a Black trans woman, in a world where if I pay attention to the Shade Room and the Neighborhood Talk and these other platforms, my people don't love me, let them tell it. And I can't allow myself to believe that. I've positioned myself to believe and live in this truth that community is necessary for me to do the work that I believe I'm called to do. And to go back to what I said earlier, to really live an abundant life, I believe community is necessary. Black community, Black folks are necessary for me to feel my best self, right? And if those things are true, I had to figure out how could I really fall in love with Black people. My time as a sex educator really helped me delve into, when we say we love people, when we talk about community agreements, when we talk about healthy relationships, it's not about that everything's perfect all the time. It's that we are choosing to pull each other in more than we are pushing each other away. And I believe that's what keeps me motivated, is positioning myself to be in love with Black folks, to look at statistics, to look at news articles and all those things that are real, but also believe my love is real and believe that transformation and restoration is real. And so I hold on to that in everything I do.
Dominique, if you could tell us a little bit about Black in Pink, your work there, and then also tell us about the upcoming project of the Opportunity Campus.
What we do at Black in Pink is work around dismantling systems that position folks to feel like they cannot show up as their best selves. Like that's the like easiest definition that I feel like everyone can access. When you talk about abolition, when you talk about some of these other terms, when these terms have been co-opted by white spaces, they feel inaccessible to those who deserve it the most. We want you to be your best self, and anything that feels like it's in the way, we want to remove it. And for Black folks, and specifically Black queer folks, Black trans folks, oftentimes that's jail, prison, policing. And so we want to make sure that we are supporting people in a spirit of solidarity in, what do you want to have access to? What does it look like to help get you there? How can we be of service to that? With Opportunity Campus, it's us challenging community of abolitionists, community of people who are doing liberation work, to really express that young people deserve access to liberation and system dismantlement as well. Because many people who can easily look at other systems will think that the child welfare system is okay. Many people who can believe that adults and trans adults and gender nonconforming adults should be able to have access to affirming care will believe that queer children don't have enough understanding of their bodies, their minds, and spirits to be able to ask for what they need. And so Opportunity Campus is us creating a space with 10 apartments. We are building a school. We are building this space, kind of this nexus of opportunity for young people who are within the queer and trans community, who may identify as living with HIV and AIDS as well, to where they can come. And so it's really exciting to be able to just expand and evolve what we've been able to do and what other incredible advocates have done across the country for years. But we've never really made a clear statement about the power of young people, and I'm excited to do that with Black in Pink.
You talked a little bit about capitalism, and I want to kind of ask a question about where does economic empowerment fall in the hierarchy of needs towards Black liberation?
This is what I often say. as someone who's an abolitionist, I think it's really interesting, and I kind of think it's ridiculous to expect people to divest from something they've never had. And I also think it's a bit of elitism in it as well, in gatekeeping, right? This idea of you've never had $10,000 to your name, and so we want you to not want that, because if you don't want that right now, then you're not really about the work. Also, I think this perception of that there can't be an individualized definition of liberation that positions you to grow into a community-based definition. I don't think that's a good approach. You don't know what you think liberation looks like until you figure out that within thyself. Like for me, my transition gave me so many answers. I've been looking for these answers for 39 years. And I believe I am that much more poised to be amongst other Black folks and talk about what free feels like in a macro way, because I know what free feels like in a micro way within myself. And so I want people to have what they want to have. I just don't want them to stop at what they want to have. Dig into that, suss that out, and then make sure that you engage with other people and continue to evolve the definition for us all.
I love that. I think I have a different perspective in terms of an alternate perspective, I would say, in terms of economic empowerment, right? Like, it makes me think of this concept of wealth and how we define it. And I think in our community, we define it, as Dominique alluded to, of just like the money, the $10,000, the house, the car, when wealth in and of itself is so much more. It's, do you have economic wealth? Do you have physical wealth? Do you have social capital health, human capital health, right? Wealth. Those are the things that I think opens up the doors to access that actually allows us to empower our communities even more, right? And we know we live in this capitalist society, where to a certain extent, economic stability is truly important, right? You know, that's a real thing. Being financially literate, being financially responsible are things that we're not even taught in schools, and things that, unfortunately for Black folk, we don't even get until, you know, we're getting an eviction letter when we're 21 years old because we didn't know how to manage our economic wealth, right? But I do think in order to uplift and create or break the generational curse of not having access to wealth, and not just money wealth, but all the wealth that I alluded to prior, you know, we do have an obligation to give back. And it's organizations like Dominique's that I think is a perfect example of how we are creating wealth within our community, right? And that's a definition of wealth in and of itself.
In community work, right, we are dealing with the community, we're dealing with humans, we're dealing with all of the things that come with, you know, people's past and their traumas and also their joys. So Sean, I have a question for you. How do you forgive people you've helped who've caused you harm?
You know, I since I was a child, I've always had a difficult relationship with forgiveness, but I think I had a breakthrough in my high school time where I actually just forgave my mother, right? I grew up without a mother or father, just a strong Caribbean grandmother who prayed a lot and was there and, you know, took care of all of us, right? And when I think about the concept of forgiveness, I start by allowing myself to just recognize my own hurt and pain and say, like, it's okay. Like, I actually get this right to not forgive you in this moment, right? And that time frame could be a day, a month, a year, 2 years, but I need to recognize that I owe this to myself to allow me to be in this space for whatever time. And I think then my step 2 is more like empathizing, which is the hardest part. I'm actually reading a book right now by Dr. Perry and Oprah called What Happened to You. And it is revolutionizing the way that I think about my interactions with people and how I deal with my own trauma and resilience. And it's simply asking yourself, well, what happened to you that's allowing you to respond in this way? But more importantly, what happened to that person that allows them to hurt you? Like, and putting yourself in that person's shoes, which takes a lot of strength to say, like, you know what, you hurt me and it's not about me. It's about whatever trauma that you need to deal with. And I empathize with you because I have that trauma too. And I think when you force yourself mentally and emotionally to be in someone else's space and someone else's shoes, that allows you to develop some sort of compassion in a way. And then that also allows you to say, you know what, I'm not gonna harbor onto this pain, because me not forgiving you is not doing anything for you. It's actually hurting me because I'm carrying this burden against you. And now I want to release it. It's not about forgetting the trauma or excusing the harm that has been done for you, but I owe it to myself to let this go and let you deal with whatever you're dealing with. And hopefully you grow from it, but I need to move on.
Dominique, when I think of what you do in general, you put yourself on the front lines when you know that you are going to be attacked. So how do you forgive, or do you forgive?
I don't so much think about forgiveness. I think leading with grace consistently allows me to not think about having to forgive, because I think grace is the proactive action of that grace is forgiveness in action. Amen. And so when I was able to shift to that as a Pisces, honey, I got beef that goes back to pre-kindergarten, girls that can't talk to me. Do you understand? That was my mom's favorite thing. You got to let stuff go. It festers on you. And I think that grace allows me also not to lean into this toxic forgiveness. And when I say toxic forgiveness, I think when we saw the police officer that killed the young Black man in Dallas, and the brother ran up and hugged her right after she was sentenced to that prison sentence, and the judge handed her a Bible. Black folks are always told, like, don't hold on to that. That makes you dark on the inside. Forgive for yourself, not for them. I don't think it's healthy to do like that performative forgiveness. Grace positions me to be like, yo, let me think about this on that front of it. So what Dr. Stevens is saying about like, yo, like, who is this person? How'd they get here? What are the things that position them to engage in this behavior? Not to absolve them of it, but to help me understand and see them. Because when you see people, you're more apt to be understanding, to not go off, so on and so forth. We talk about from a Jedi perspective, that justice, that justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion perspective. Like we want inclusion so you can see people. I think we want more grace. If I see more of me and you, and then y'all, I'm gonna be like, yo, I get it. I may not have done that right now, but I get it. And so that's what I do. When people attacking me, I'm just like, yo, what were they thinking? What would I had said 10 years ago if I was on Facebook talking about, abolition and we don't need jails and prisons? And so it allows me just to see my people and lead with love, hold a lot of that grace and love for myself, and also let go and let God when it's not my ministry, and hope that you get grace and love from someone else. I don't want you to not have it, but I can also say, listen, I don't have the capacity. That grace quotient is really important.
Yes. Y'all taking me to church like on some real shit. No, for sure. And I think it's so interesting that you say that, right? Because not only is the words that you're speaking giving is very powerful, but I think it's like the perspective of how to even start thinking about things, right? Because forgiveness is after it's done. So it's more preventative. So I love that. So thank you for that, Jem. Dominique, tell us a little bit about how's your spirit right now? How's your spirit? How do you feel right now in your skin, and why?
I feel so doggone powerful. I am, I'm 39, I'll be 40 in about 7 months. I'm a Black trans woman that spent 10 years in prison, 18 months in solitary, 6 months I lived on death row. I came from what the world would perceive as nothing, but I know I had something, but I sit in a place now where I'm positioned to not only have my own abundance, but be a part of other people acquiring their abundance. And that is a blessing. That is what dreams are made of. So in spite of anything that's happening around me, I'm able to be like, you know what? I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I absolutely believe I'm supposed to do. And there's a powerful moment when you can look at your life and truly believe that you have everything you've experienced. It wasn't like you didn't go through pain for a purpose, but no part of your life feels like you lost it, right? And you can feel like you can show up as your whole self. So I feel incredible in that. And I will say that Black people have been a huge part of helping me make that happen. Additionally, I want to say that Black cisgender men who have loved me as a Black trans woman, who have showed up for me outside of in the community sense, have been a powerful buoy for that type of experience as well. That experience of Blackness, we cannot experience healthy Black communities and not have healthy cisgender, heterosexual, or queer Black men involved. Like, y'all are essential. And so for those who have been involved, I think it's so important. And that's another reason why I'm flourishing. And I hope I'm doing my work at a higher level too.
You are, for sure. And then last question, Sean, how does your community save you? And then could you share an example of that?
Oh, I love my hood. I'm back in it. I was lucky enough to come back and 7 blocks from where I grew up, become a founding teacher, become a founding principal, and then teach students and lead students who, children, they were the children of people who I went to high school and middle school with, and that was nostalgic in and of itself, right? And I think my community allowed me to just see my immediate surroundings, but encourage me to prove the possible and push me to think that like, this is not all that life was, right? And how can I expand my thinking? How can I challenge the status quo? How can I, leave and learn about other aspects of the world and other communities, and then come back and give, right? And I think that's what I'm placed on earth to do, to be a vessel, a social justice agent of change, to come back. So many of us are just like, leave the hood, leave the hood. Like that's what, we were grown up to say, get out of here, right? But I think my community said, yeah, get out of here, but come back and show us some love, right? Don't forget who you are, because that's your identity, that's your foundation, that's your groundwork. And I think about my pastors, and I think about, the bodega, when my little brother was murdered, I was able to go back and literally, before the cops even had access to information, ask the bodega that I went to every day growing up and say, bruh, remember me, you know me, I need this footage ASAP so that we can find my brother's killer. And like, that's what community does, right? When you build that sense of, we stick together for the uplift of everybody. And when someone's hurting, we support you, right? And I think those are just some examples of how the community has invested in me, and why I feel a moral and ethical obligation to always give back and never leave.
And then Dominique, do you have any responses to that question? How has your community saved you, or if that's not the verbiage, helped you?
I think my community helped me see the best version of me. And that's where I found my safety. I believe that I was really trained to think that I was broken. I don't use those terms anymore. We are all, as human beings, we all experience some sort of harm. And so therefore we're on a lifelong journey of like addressing that harm, and people do that in various ways. My community has been the best mirror I can ever have. Because at times when I didn't see myself as a leader, there was an auntie, there was an elder that was like, you gonna be somebody. At a time when I did not see the impact of my work, there was someone saying, listen, you really are doing something, lean into that. At the times when I post something on Facebook or I make a video or something and I thought I was really doing something good, and an auntie would jump in your inbox like, baby, take that down, that matters as well. They've helped me see my best self, craft my best self, and be a mirror. If you don't have community, especially community that knows you best, because it's cute to go somewhere where the girls don't know you and they live. But if you can't be around your people who have seen you from the beginning to now, and you're uncomfortable with that, yeah, it's some messy people maybe amongst the crowd, but also you might be uncomfortable with that mirror that community is putting in front of you. And my call into you is, do what you need to do to feel safe, but don't run from the mirror. Because if you look in the mirror and you look at the things, I promise you there's something bigger for you in that.
What do you want to leave people with? What hope do you want to leave everyone with?
If we lean on community, we do not need to wait for our oppressors to give us permission to have the things we know we deserve to have. And that's what you can leave with, that the answers, the gifts, the joys are with amongst us, right where you are. And if we focus on that, we don't need to wait for other people to say it's our time. We can decide that now.
The Michelle Obama quote that refers to having grace and willingness to hear other people's stories and to learn, like, I can't overemphasize the importance of stepping into the shoes and the lives and the emotions and the traumas of others to further understand yourself and to understand, what happened to them, right? And I think the more times we force ourselves to think that way, the better our society becomes.
It was through countless mentors and overcoming many challenges that I found the motivation and confidence not to give up on my dreams. Being a creative entrepreneur, I had to learn on my own how to navigate the tricky world of business. I am proud to join Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow as a production mentor. I am also proud to again welcome my friend, Britton Smith.
afraid, but now I'm fine, ready to uncover. What would you do if you had the chance? Purify it all, start again. What if the world burned tonight? I had a love, I had a plan, had a key. I thought I knew the rules that'll carry me up all the way to the throne of town. But the fire had a plan and it brought me down. What would you do if you had the chance? Purify it all, start again. What if the world burned tonight? Hey. What if the world burned tonight? Don't be afraid, we are on a secret spaceship. What if the world burned tonight? Safe away from all the devastation. What if the world burned tonight? Hey, you can be mad or celebrate the fire. What if the world, what if the world? Oh, you can act blind if you want to, but the fire is hot and it's burning through all the lane that you thought was fine. Come on, let the fire, let it rewind. What would you do if you had the chance? Purify it all, start again. What if the world, what if your world, what if your world burn, 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 burn? What if the world burned tonight? Don't be afraid, we're on a secret spaceship. What if the world burned tonight? Safe away from all the devastation. What if the world burned tonight? Yeah, you can be mad, but celebrate the fire. Celebrate the fire. Hey. Oh, what if you were the whole world? What if it burned? Whew. How do you feel the fire? Feel the fire when the world is burning up? How do you see the ashes as it crashes, gently wiping over all the land? Do you understand? The world is burning up into light, yes. Burning fire. Feel the fire, feel the fire. How do you see those ashes as it crashes? Hey, all the land. Do you understand? Your world is burning up. Burning fire. Hey, set it on fire. Come on, set it on fire. You don't need it, you don't need it. Let it burn. Let it burn. Yeah, yeah. What if the world? Hey, baby, what if the world? Everything you know, everything you love, burn, baby. Burn, baby. Burn, baby. Burn, baby. Burn, baby. Let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Hey, baby, what if the world? Hey, baby, what if the world? What would you do? What would you do? What would you do if your world burn tonight? Yeah. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. What if the world?
Hi guys, I hope you're doing amazing. My name is Kirby and I'm a singer-songwriter from Mississippi. I'm sure you're wondering how you go from a small town in Mississippi to writing for Beyonce, writing for Kanye West, and currently, thank God, going on tour with John Legend. And the question is easily answered by two things: hard work, and secondly, nonprofit organizations that focus on empowering youth, and especially youth of color. And that's why I personally subscribe to the mission of Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow. So yes, I am a singer, songwriter, and an activist, which is pretty strange to say, but I'll humbly take that title. But other than that, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm trying to be a cook, trying to be a girl who does yoga, trying to be in the gym. But you know, titles are just titles. I think at the end of the day, what really matters is what kind of person you are and what do you stand for. And that's why I support Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, because of what they stand for. Wow, have I ever thought about giving up? How many times? Probably today. Is that the question? How many times did I think about giving up today? Because, you know, I remember being asked that question a while ago and I said no. And I feel like ever since I said that, I've been tested on my response. And there are days when I feel like, maybe this is what I shouldn't be doing. I think giving up starts as the seed of doubt, and it leads to the actual thought of, oh my gosh, what if I choose to not do this? But it's a constant fight. But I realize if I said no, if I decided to not do what it is I believe, you know, God placed me on this earth to do, I wouldn't be me. And I would rather authentically fail than successfully be someone that isn't who I really am. So yeah, authenticity wins every time for me. What advice do I have to give? First of all, I want to know all about this do-rag and bonnet business, because as you can see with this natural hair, honey, in about 2 hours, I'll have on a bonnet. What advice I would give? Know yourself, because if you don't, somebody's going to tell you who you are. And it's up to you to know whether that person is reflecting your truth or trying to mold you into something that works for them. It might not work for you. So know yourself. No is a word. No is a full sentence. Don't be afraid to use it without explanation, especially for young Black women. I feel like we take the spirit of humility and we take any opportunity and we're like, yes, yes. But sis, sometimes the answer is no. And it's not no, it's just no, not right now. No, thank you. And that's enough. You don't have to explain your no. And I think for me, when I learned to turn down the good things, the best things started to come. So don't be afraid of your no, and always know who you are. It's the no and the no for me. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Hi, I'm IG Okafor, Advisory Board Member at Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, and the Editor-in-Chief at Bond Official. I've dedicated my life to employing creativity to tell the stories of men, sharing new narratives that are normally excluded and not shared with care, nor its deserved effort. Our youth are often excluded from the conversation. How can we have faith in our future without carefully and intentionally doing all we can to shape their hearts and minds? Over 70% of Black and Brown students are failing math and reading. Unfortunately, we are already behind. The work we are doing at Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow is not for the faint of heart. It is just that, work. and we can't go it alone. Make your tax-deductible gift today to get us closer to our $50,000 goal by August 31st. A gift of $10 or $25 a month will go a long way to ensure our youth has a chance for the greatest business success. Our strong community has a gift of making lemonade from life's lemons and magic where the odds aren't in our favor. Let's do that today. Be a part of the change. Up next, I'd like to introduce to you a trailblazer, lauded by the Los Angeles Times as, quote, one of the countertenors of this generation, and Marian Anderson, Vocal Award recipient, John Holiday.
Hi, I'm John Holiday, music artist and educator. I am honored to support my friend Daniel Calderon and his team at Entrepreneurs of Tomorrow, whose mission is providing business education to Black and brown youth across the country and beyond. Like the brilliant youthpreneurs at EOT, I had a dream to break generational curses and define success on my own terms. As I became a man, I wanted to not only break barriers for men who look like me, but also for those who love like me. I've achieved a lot, and I have way more to do. I've been fortunate to perform on the world's largest stages with the world's most amazing talent. And one fact remains: we are not free. I was surprised at the inequities that existed through the thunderous applause from the world's elite. The reality set in. This is why we are here. This is why we reach back and push forward and continue lifting as we climb up. Our ancestors have taught us the peculiar art of storytelling and sharing of knowledge. And that's what I'm here to do. I'd love to share with you my heart. It is with distinct pride and joy that I present to you a preview before its public release on tomorrow. My newest music video, Alive in Me. Thank you so much. Bye.
It wakes me up at night. It needs to share its light. It doesn't get how dark it is outside. It warms the rising sun and kisses everyone. It doesn't remember the hate from yesterday. Oh, can't you hear it in my voice? Oh, can't you see it in my eyes? Love, love is alive in me. And when my golden crown becomes a cup of doubt, I'll try to remember all I need is all around. Oh, can't you hear it in my voice? Oh, can't you see it in my eyes? Love, love is alive in me. Oh,
I can't stay. No, I always gotta go. Playing house, this ain't a home with my soul. On the road, I can't stay. No, I always gotta go. Playing house, this ain't a home with my soul. On the road,
I can't sit still for a minute. I'm so dead set on indifference. Keep it Charlie, stay down with them Dickens. Let's get around like it's the 80s. Right round, let's keep spinning. Let's keep playing these games that we don't want to finish. And I'm sorry if that sounds a bit bitter, but I am to the core. You want the whole damn thing, then you ask him for more. You want that old jive swing, you take up all of the floor. I'm fine with standing at the edge of the door. You be the life of the party, I blend in with the core. You drink it all to Bacardi till the bottle's no more. Let's take it back for this started. You want the love, I don't got it. Got my soul on the road. You screaming stay, baby please don't go. Don't think it's in me to listen to foe. It's so different with distance we roam into zones where nothing get heard anymore. I just wish I was home when I stepped through front door, but instead I'm alone and completely unsure. And even though you're screaming out with the best of intentions, I don't get it. Why do you always gotta ask me to stay?
why you always gotta go? Playing house, this ain't a home with your soul. On the road, say, why you always gotta go? Playing house, this ain't a home with your soul. On the road.
See, I've been lost in my thoughts, and my thoughts stay too obscure to usher off. Sorry, Mom, I just thought you were my world. Now you're not. And I'm just sitting, smoking, sloping in the days, cause my days ain't been the same since I drove here away. I remember the way you wrote letters in blue ink. You and me was in love.